This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Brian Peña. I always join the Vito podcast, the best podcast in the United States.
This week's Two Bad Hombres podcast is brought to you by The Athletic, premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Two Bad Hombres listeners can get 20% off the first year of an annual subscription by visiting theathletic.com/DSP.
I was trying to get it out here. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get fly. I got 6.
And we are still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churco, alongside my sidekick and broadcast partner in fun. That is the Doc from Doc and Jock, John Charles McElroon. John, how are you doing?
Vito, welcome to the weekend. My goodness, man, Thursday we saw a warm-up. It's been nice. How have you handled all this cold? I mean, my goodness, man. The city of Detroit has been bombarded with freezing weather. I mean, when you go outside, it hits you in the face, and you kind of have to cover up real fast because if you don't, your face starts to turn a little bit red. I mean, when you go outside and it's negative degrees. I went out on a date with my wife, and I took a picture, and I posted it on our Twitter page, at Detroit Podcast. Do you know what the reading was? -13 outside at 12:15 on a date with my wife. I was looking at it and I'm like, oh my goodness. But for me, I'm a guy that likes the cold. I like
but
the
not
four
this
seasons.
cold.
No, too much?
Right? Well, I'm saying, do you like this cold or it's too freezing cold? Because when your lips are freezing, when your mustache is freezing, when your lips subsequently, for me at least, are chapping up, I can't deal with the weather. That's why I'm staying inside all the time. Have been because of the weather. Nothing else for me to do but to stay inside when the weather's this crappy.
Yeah, but it's nice to see a warm-up. You have any plans at all? Get to Miami, go party at Fontainebleau like you're known to do?
Well, you know what? That would be fun right about now, especially with the weather that we've been dealing with in Michigan. But no plans like that. Going to live it up in Michigan. Probably in D-Town, Detroit, in Greektown, somewhere over there as I have in the past. I met with a friend this past week on Thursday night, actually in Royal Oak, too, for a dinner. Nick Schmiegel and 2 other buddies that I wanted to see and catch up with in the new year. So stuff like that I have going forward as well. And this day, I have a Horatio Williams event, too, that I'm doing once again. A day-long basketball event at Warren Fitzgerald High School. And my alma mater, Warren De La Salle, is playing in this event as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
And this checks in with some high school basketball talent that could also be playing at some big-time schools across Michigan.
Top high school basketball talent throughout the state, but also throughout the nation, you could say, at least with some of the teams and some of the players that they have.
What are you looking forward to covering? Anybody in particular that someone like me should peek into, maybe going to Michigan or Michigan State?
A guy that you would love, Foster Lawyer. Now, you've brought him up to me recently. I had to kind of explain to you who the heck he was. He's the point guard, runs the show at Clarkston, a team that won it all last season for the first time in program history. Their head coach, Dan Fife, finally got a championship. He had been really close on the cusp of it, finally got over the hump, and Clarkston won it all last year. Foster Lawyer returns to try to repeat at Clarkston. They have Taylor Curry, another top recruit, Thomas Kithier, who came from Dakota. We know that big controversy between Macomb Dakota High School and the MHSAA, the Michigan High School Athletic Association, which has blocked his transfer. Well, with the help of Macomb Dakota really, refused to sign the waiver to allow Thomas Kithier to play at Clarkston High School this season. Kithier ruled ineligible subsequently, so he can't play, but Clarkston's still a really good team, a top-tier squad in the state of Michigan, a team that probably will repeat as well in Class A. And yes, they play in this event, the Horatio Williams Foundation Freedom Classic, so a lot of top talent to watch for from Clarkston specifically in their matchup.
Now, you can check out Vito's work at Vito Jerome. You can follow the network at Detroit Podcast to see all of Vito's coverage. Check out our podcast. Probably Vito will do some interviews. Have you been liking taking the microphone out and about on the town and getting some interviews regarding all things Detroit sports?
Well, it's always fun. I like bringing the mic out, wielding it, and I have a good time with it. I feel empowered. Okay, so for me, it's always a good time having the mic in my hand and interviewing whomever it may be.
No doubt. Okay, so on this podcast, we're definitely going to peek into what happened last weekend at the Golden Globes because everybody's talking about it. Oprah Winfrey kind of really caused a stir with her speech. She accepted the Cecil B. DeVille Award in terms of her achievements in the role of film, and at the same time, her speech was eloquent, talking about the role of women, talking about where we are in the society. But many people in that room and nationally, when they saw the speech and heard it, they kind of interpret it like, this kind of sounds like a presidential speech. It kind of sounds like an individual like Oprah that might be planting the seeds on a White House run. So in the second half of the podcast, we'll kind of explore what you think, because I seem to think that you're kind of excited maybe regarding Oprah running. So we'll talk about that. But right now, 2018, one of our first recordings of the new year. I'm definitely fascinated to get your sense, being that this is a sports podcast network. What is your sports priority going on right now? Because in terms of where people are at with sports in Detroit, people are really kind of upset. They're frustrated. There's this kind of malaise in terms of, if you asked what the theme was in 2017, people would say it was kind of crappy. It was kind of uninspiring. It was kind of dreadful. Many people don't have hope regarding many of the teams. When you look at it, the Red Wings, Pistons, Tigers, Lions not making the postseason, there were several scenarios in which we all had hope for some of our teams. And right now, when we look at it, most teams in the area, professionally at least, don't have really championship aspirations. I would say the only team right now on the trajectory of being able to compete and have the conversation to get into the title picture is Michigan State basketball. And so for me, that's my priority. As you know, I cover Oakland basketball. I'm greatly looking forward to, in a couple weeks, me and you going out to Callahan Hall. I'm going to get there really early, and we're going to do it up big for the Metro Series rivalry, Oakland versus Detroit Mercy, their first matchup of the season. A lot of storylines to chomp into there. So in the better part now of the past 2 years, I've been heavily invested in college basketball. And obviously being a state supporter, it's very fascinating to kind of look at Michigan State and what they bring to the table with some highly touted talent. But they had a slip-up. Went on the road to Ohio State, and Ohio State played dominant basketball. But when you look at Big Ten play, some people told me that they thought that Michigan State was going to lose, that sometimes it's really hard to carry the burden of being number one. And, you know, for those that thought that Michigan State was going to run the table in the Big Ten, I would have laughed, because not many teams do that. On the road in the Big Ten is super tough. And Ohio State played really well. They're a ranked team. So, you know, I was not that upset that they lost the game, so their ranking slipped this week. But it's okay. But I'm really watching and looking forward to me. That my priority is seeing how Michigan State handles the pressure going through the rest of the Big Ten season. When this podcast drops, right at noon, Michigan State's going to take on today Michigan at home, their only contest this year. It's going to be a good contest, I believe, because Michigan's coming in playing hot. They're playing pretty well. They tend to shoot the lights out if they can get hot from the three. Michigan State has bigs. They got basically a complete team. And Vito, once in a while, it's very nice when you sit down, you crack a beer, and you watch an athletic contest where you see your team that you support play really well and fire on all cylinders. When Michigan State took on Maryland at home, it was literally watching eloquent college basketball. They were passing well. They were defending. They were rebounding. They did to Maryland what Ohio State did to them. So it was nice to kind of see what Michigan State can dial up. And so that's why it's a priority for me, in that I can see big-time dreams and big-time hopes and aspirations for the Michigan State basketball team. Many people are thinking this team can get to the Final Four, maybe play Duke, maybe take that next step. I'm a little bit pessimistic in terms of my thinking, in terms of whether they can win it all, because of Duke and other teams, and when it's a scenario in which, you know, you get into a tournament one and done scenario, it's very scary. But I'm enjoying watching it. And so I definitely make Michigan State basketball a priority for me. That's my priority right now.
Well, a few things for me. One thing that sticks out to me prevalently because of the national title game being this past week is Alabama hopefully never winning again. Nick Saban, hopefully, really, is what it comes down to, never winning again.
Why?
Because he's won too much at Bama. 5 national titles now, won with the Crimson Tide, and one before with LSU. And then I move on from that to the refs officiating these games, and especially the NFL games. They're crappy refs. They're not full-time refs. They don't know enough of the rule book, it seems like, at times, and they should be when they're paid to officiate these games. And still, there is a problem with the catch rule. Will that ever be rectified? And, you know, you can go all the way back to the Kelvin Johnson complete the process rule that went against the Lions. And, you know, speaking of the Lions, a priority of mine is getting Matt Patricia here to be the head coach, to take over, to move this team in the right direction. And from all accounts, all signs, he's going to be the guy to move this team in the right direction. He's a genius defensively. Can he lead the troops and motivate them, though, effectively? That's going to be the biggest, I think, task of Matt Patricia's, time with the Lions if he does become the head coach. And now it's reported that he will become the head coach. So we got to see how he deals with all the personalities inside the locker room, because we know he knows his X's and O's, reportedly once again a genius, but how is he going to mesh with the players inside the locker room?
As you were talking, I got a sense regarding coaching. One of the things that could be a priority is looking at the two coaches who have yet to be replaced, and that's Jeff Blashill and SVG. Because right now it looks like we're in a phase of turnover. We're looking at a couple coaches in terms of Ron Gardenhire and maybe Matt Patricia if he's hired. They're going to be new. They're going to have new regimes. So peeking into them will be important. But the remaining two, I'm starting to think when you watch, I mean, the Red Wings played Tampa Bay. They've come from a winning streak. They played very well. They got a stretch there where they were getting some points, winning some games. But you play the better teams like Tampa Bay, you don't get the 2 points. It's a scenario in which the hope for a lot of fans in terms of the Red Wings and Pistons is really down. Attendance continues to be something that's talked about. Many people are not going out there willing to shell out their dollars to watch the Pistons and Red Wings. And why is that? One, the product on the court and the ice. And two, when you look at it, how many times can Stan Van Gundy come out after a performance like they had earlier in the week versus the Pelicans, and you come out and say, the defensive effort was porous. The defensive effort was poor. Our effort was poor. He's said it now at least 24 times in his tenure, and people are starting to chirp a little bit because Stan Van Gundy is only under contract for this year and next year. If he doesn't make the postseason, then there's a scenario in which he's out. And I hate to say it because I said it with the Lions, but at this point in time, my thinking is you kind of have to hope the Pistons bottom out. And if the players are not playing for them or they succumb to a lot of these injuries, in sports it really doesn't matter. No excuses. If the Pistons make the postseason, maybe it gets Stan Van an extension. But in terms of what we're seeing, it kind of leads me to believe that one of my priorities is firing Jeff Blashill and firing Stan Van Gundy.
For the Pistons' sake, my one priority, or the biggest one when it comes to Stan Van Gundy, is to rectify the effort level, to get more of that out of his ball club consistently. You have to see that the rest of the way this season, as you near the All-Star break, an improved level of effort from the Pistons on a nightly basis. You've got to see that, or you can start criticizing Stan Van Gundy even more. And he's come under fire in the past for some erroneous moves as, well, the guy that's making the decisions, the personnel decisions in the front office, along with Jeff Bauer, but a guy that has a large say on this team, a large impact on this team, and he has to get more out of them on a nightly basis, because you can't just lose to lackluster ball clubs and keep using the reason for it being, oh, we didn't show up tonight, or, the guys just didn't have the effort level. Improve upon it already, right? We got to see improved results, and hopefully you'll see that out of the Pistons in the second half. Another priority of mine, though, is to see Andre Drummond make the All-Star game. He is performing at an All-Star caliber level when you look at his free throw shooting percentage at a career high, way above what his career norm was coming into this campaign. I want to see him make the All-Star game. He's rebounding at an extremely high level, 15 rebounds per game going into this past Monday night. He's a guy that deserves to make the All-Star game. And then Sparty, how do you get blown out against Ohio State? I know it was on the road, but Doc, no offense to you, Sparty should have had a better performance still against a team that hasn't been ranked. Now, I know will be, or, was ranked in the most recent rankings, but coming into the season, not expected to do a ton, were the Buckeyes, and then you lay an egg. I don't care that it's on the road. You lay an egg when you're the number one team in the nation, you can't afford for that to happen. And especially when you realize, or you take into account that the NCAA tournament, it's one and done, baby. If you make one mistake, have one lackluster performance, and you get ousted then because of that one lackluster performance, there's no making up for it. You only get the one time to shine, and if you mess up, trip up in one game, you're all done. And I know that was an early season conference game, but still, when you're the number one team and you really want to showcase that you're the number one team in the nation to the rest of the nation, you can't afford for that performance, and just hopefully that performance doesn't carry over for Sparty.
Vito, are you sitting here criticizing the Michigan State basketball team?
I had to. At this point, I expect more. If they're really the best team in the nation, you can't afford to have that performance. You don't have that performance against Ohio State, who's not a great Ohio State team. Okay? There's no Thad Matta walking through that door, or Greg Oden walking through that door, or Evan Turner walking through that door. Guys like that who have contributed enormously in the past to, high levels of success for the Buckeyes. You don't have that kind of talent with the Buckeyes this season. And you lay that kind of an egg, I know it's one game, but you fire Izzo. No. I love Izzo. I respect him highly. But now it's time for him to win his first national title since 2000. It won't be good enough, Doc, just to get to the Final Four. That's not going to cut the mustard seed. And you know what? He will get fired then.
I'm talking about you, Vito. If you continue
you're
this
saying,
kind of...
critiquing your Sparty team, okay, over there in East Lansing. I know you love them, but facts are facts.
You can do better than that.
And Izzo can, okay, in terms of not just making the Final Four, but winning a national title. It's got to happen this season, Doc.
Okay,
Vito. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you might be a little bit critical, but it's the Big Ten. Vito, they were not going to go through the entire season, roll through it, and not lose a game. Come on now. There's going to be scenarios in which people get up for Michigan State because they're the number one team. They're a highly ranked team. It's a divisional foe. Ohio State always plays Michigan State pretty tough in any sport, so it's a scenario in which you can kind of look to it, and sometimes you have to have, I know coaches won't come out and say it, they won't acknowledge it. You got to have some losses so that you can kind of coach the team up. Had the Michigan State Spartans gone undefeated throughout the entire season, I feel like that might have been a real detriment to the squad. And so Tom Izzo will help this team rebound, and they'll be okay, Vito. A couple losses is not going to hurt the team.
They're always good enough around March, around the time of the tournament. But the thing is, you can bring up that you'd rather slip up right now, but I still expected more out of Sparty. And it comes down to the NCAA tournament, to March Madness. How far does Izzo take this team? And he better win a national title. It comes back to that for me. And speaking of two teams that realistically don't have a shot at winning a national title this season, two teams from the Horizon League that we have covered enormously, well, in the past, Detroit Mercy and OU, disappointingly 1-7 in conference play to start the season, Doc. Who saw that coming, especially out of OU, a very talented Greg Campy-led squad?
Yeah, one win to start the Horizon League. I did, though, in years past, you and I have had the discussion regarding who I thought the best teams were in the Horizon League. I said Oakland, 1, and then 2, I had Northern Kentucky because I watched them play. Their coach, John Brannon, is unbelievable in terms of getting his team to rebound, play well, play hard, clutch shots. And you see scenarios on the court with Oakland in terms of maybe not making the best basketball moves. But I do believe that, in years past, in the couple of years I've watched Oakland, they've come from ahead. You know what I mean? They've been on top, they've played really well, and they've been, the top dog. Maybe this year, with a senior-laden team, maybe they got to struggle a little bit and kind of be the underdogs, maybe go into the Horizon League tournament, the number 2 or 3 seed, and maybe try to look to upset some people because they've gone into the Horizon League tournament as the number 1 seed and lost the first round. They haven't had a win since I've been covering them for the last couple of seasons. They haven't had a win in the Horizon League tournament, and this year they're counting on it because, like most leagues, like most smaller leagues, you only get one bid for the entire league, and Oakland's counting on it being them. But if it's not Oakland this year, it's probably going to be Northern Kentucky because they play a decent brand of basketball. But I want to kind of look to a couple people who messaged us regarding what they think the sports priorities are. And of these 4, the Roundtable podcast tweeted in, they sent us 4. 1, Lions must pick the correct coach. 2, start Red Wings from scratch. 3, start the process with the Pistons, kind of agreeing with me. Fire Van Gundy, hire Sam Hinkie. Number 4, put everything into the farm system. Of those, what do you think?
Well, I've talked about on Tigers Talk about the farm system of the Detroit Tigers and how they need to keep adding talent to it. They have to continue overhauling the farm system at each level of it, and specifically with the positional talent. Now, moving onward, I guess from 4 to 3, and, from the Roundtable podcast, as you noted, at Roundtable3K on Twitter for the Twitter handle of the hashtag Roundtable Podcast. And this, these guys had mentioned starting the process with the Pistons, firing Van Gundy, hiring Sam Hinkie. Well, Sam Hinkie was fired by the Sixers. So you're going to hire a guy that was fired by the Sixers. Now, he started the process, and now the Sixers have to complete it. So you have to trust in a process, I guess, at some point, and maybe this isn't the way of going about things, how the Pistons have been going about things, as it hasn't translated to enough wins consistently. So maybe they have to completely revamp the team and start over by going through a fire sale and going for broke. That might be the way of doing things. The Sixers have started to finally improve with results on the floor, but still, they're not a great ball club yet, and who even knows if it'll ever work out and truly come to fruition in Philadelphia. So there's no guarantee there in Philly, but I do believe there is merit to the point of starting over when it comes to the Pistons.
Several other people messaged us on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Big Nick writes in, the Pistons are his biggest priority. Mike Rizzo writes in, Wings, Lions coach, Michigan basketball, Michigan football, and then the Detroit Tigers. Jacob agrees with me. His priority is Sparty Hoops because it's the only team with a shot at a championship in the near future. So, Vito, obviously, 2017 was really tough for Detroit sports. What were some of the lowlights for you? I mean, where do your frustrations lie? I mean, obviously, being a baseball guy, the way that the Tigers kind of collapsed throughout the season and really caused the organization to move on from Brad Ausmus was really devastating. You look at the trajectories of the Pistons, Wings, many people will write that. I mean, look, anytime you ask, what do you think about the organizations, people are down on the Pistons and Wings throughout by and large because, you know, the optics, the PR has been really bad with who they got on the floor. You know, the news with Avery Bradley, the Red Wings, you know, they're not winning consistently. People aren't happy to shell out big dollars at a new arena for a product that's not competitive. And then you look at other things like the Lions, and there was hope that was elevated throughout the season when they got off to that good start, but then they let you down. What was the source of your frustration? Because I know we talked about what our priorities are in the future, but just looking back, what upset you the most?
Frustrations, the Tigers doubling down on the youth movement, the rebuild movement, as they've completely become a dumpster fire. They were that in the last month and a half or so, 2 months of last season, will be that throughout the course of the entirety of this upcoming season. Truly believe that. Now, one positive we got out of that mess that the Tiger season was in 2017 was the firing finally of Brad Ausmus. That was inevitable for a while, according to many. Now, I started to think at the very end that maybe he won't get axed because of the fact that he had nothing to work with. No personnel, nobody on the field to win with, so he was in a disadvantage big time, but the firing of him was a long time coming. It was good to see that, and I got to celebrate a little bit over that. Should have popped some champagne maybe to even start this new year. But that was great to see him getting axed. Now the Tigers are moving into this. It might be a long-term, might not be a long-term rebuilding movement, but it's a movement they had to take to get younger and cheaper, and the team, I think, will benefit from it within the next 3 years, let's say. And the rest of the teams, the Lions getting a new head coach, that's great to see, as they had to axe Jim Caldwell. And the Pistons, I think, will keep Stan Van Gundy for the time being. The Wings, I think, will fire Jeff Blashill. And I think a lot of Red Wings fans, too, want to see the firing of Ken Holland. But will that happen? I think more people think it's more likely that the Wings fire Jeff Blashill, not Ken Holland, who's been a part of Stanley Cups won by the Wings in the past. So I know the Ilitch family might not be as willing to fire Ken Holland because of that. No. Now, Blashill really has no job security at this point. The Wings have not looked good since he's been the head coach. So I think he will be ousted soon enough, and I think a lot of people will accept that and accept that glowingly when it does occur.
Awesome, Vito. Okay, now going forward, many people will say then, when you look at these teams, which team, I said Michigan State basketball, which of the pro teams do you think is closest to getting back to the postseason and having some level of success that we can actually chomp onto and gravitate towards and be excited about?
And to cheer for, right? Finally. It's been a while since really we had some good relevant teams. Well, the Lions, by adding Matt Patricia, which seems inevitable once again, getting him to be the head coach, maybe the Lions start winning games and winning playoff games specifically. How about a playoff win? The Lions could use that badly. I haven't even witnessed one in my lifetime. And the Lions haven't won a championship since 1957, the year of birth for my father. Think about it. And that was an NFL championship. The Lions haven't even been to a Super Bowl.
You're a loser.
And the Panthers have been to 2 Super Bowls. And they're a much younger NFL franchise. The Lions have to get to a Super Bowl sometime soon. And I think with Matt Patricia and some shrewd moves, additions being made by Bob Quinn to improve the squad on the field, I think that's what it'll take to get the Lions to winning playoff games. And I think those two things can happen because I'm going to trust in Matt Patricia right now, and I do trust in Bob Quinn and what he's done and what I think he is capable of doing as well in the future. for the Detroit Lions.
You're really a special guy.
A special guy to believe in the Lions doing anything of relevance, right? And in the playoffs, getting a playoff W. But I guess I'll take that as a compliment as well, being a special guy.
All right, Vito, let's take our first time out, come back. I mean, Oprah Winfrey has been the talk of the country. Many people are thinking that in 2020, if she throws her name into the ring and tries to run for president, oh my goodness, Donald Trump versus Oprah. Now, they're friendly. They're not, enemies. They're both TV personalities, but it would be fascinating, I think, to kind of schedule a night, debate night, Oprah Winfrey versus Donald Trump. We'll talk about it next after this quick timeout. Vito, I want to tell you about our host site, Podomatic.com. When Adam and I started this project, we were looking for a place to host all of our weekly audio. And thank goodness at this point in time, we've recorded 800 to 900 podcasts, and we've only used one host site. Why do we use Podomatic? Really easy to use. I mean, you've used it. We record our audio. We have fun. We joke around. We tell stories. We debate back and forth Detroit sports. And then after a quick edit, we put up all of our audio to Podomatic. And within 5 minutes, we can generate quality links so that all of our supporters across the country and even overseas can listen to the podcast. That's why each and every week when we check the numbers, listenership is up, downloads are up. You can't have a great network without a great host site. So in 2018, if you're listening to us and you're like, I want to start a brand new podcast, and you're looking for a great host site, we recommend one and one alone, Podomatic.com.
Yeah, we coming now.
Back here on Two Bad Hombres, and reflecting on our priority conversation with Detroit sports teams and sports in general, something non-related to sports, a priority of mine is to run alongside Oprah Winfrey for president in 2020, to campaign for her openly. Maybe I will, and first and foremost, maybe she'll run for president to try to defeat President Trump head-to-head. Oprah Winfrey probably would run, on the ticket of a Democrat, right? I think she would run as a Democrat, obviously. Run head-to-head, try to defeat Donald Trump, two popular figures for years and years now. They have huge Twitter followings, and you have Oprah on one side of things where she's Miss-friendly, and Trump doesn't really care about being friendly most of the time. It will be very interesting, the dynamic of that occurring in 2020. Doc, to you now on this topic, which is dominating conversation in our nation right now.
Now, let's look at some people. I went to NOLA.com. Many people are saying that she stole the entire show, created a huge amount of buzz regarding her speech. Let's just look at what NOLA.com had to say about, it's about 90 seconds, what they had to say about Oprah Winfrey's speech.
A new day is on the horizon. And when that new day finally dawns, it will be because of a lot of magnificent women, many of whom are right here in this room tonight, and some pretty phenomenal men.
So you hear Oprah Winfrey and you see the passion in which she spoke. I really do believe it kind of sounded like a political speech in that she was empowering her base, kind of getting that, at least that first step of support from women in that room. But she was elegant. She looked very much in shape, and her speech was powerful. I was like, wow, Oprah doing well for herself. And she had, at least at the very basic level, she had the command of the room. I mean, at least everybody in that room, all the liberal actors and actresses in that room were looking at her like she was giving a Gandhi type speech, kind of rallying the world. And I looked at it and I'm like, wow, this Oprah Winfrey can command a room. And people were highly respectful of her, definitely kind of hanging on to every word, and they were really passionate about listening to what she had to say. And do you think that it's serious, these rumors that she might just make a bid to run for president in 2020?
Well, Doc, as you would refer to the people in that room on that night, you would call them, you already said liberals, liberal actors and actresses, liberal slappies or snowflakes, I guess, were astounded, jaws were dropping, they were embracing her message, but it was easy to embrace her message. I was able to gravitate towards it. I want to embrace her message, her platform, become a part of her base if she runs for president. I mean, it was such an empowering message for women and men, all about equality and women and men standing up for each other. It is time to change not only the political landscape, but our nation's landscape in terms of how women are treated. They should be treated fairly inside the workplace, outside of the workplace. Get rid of all the dirtiness. of all the sexual harassment, and let's start treating these women like equals as men and women are equal. And for me, it makes her presidential and more fit to be the president than the current guy in the Oval Office and President Trump. And obviously her message a lot different than the one being preached by Donald Trump and his base and all his tweets and just hatred that he spews to the masses, divisiveness. And then you got an Oprah Winfrey message of love and equality, something to warm up to and to embrace.
The people that watch don't like her. And let's see what happens.
That's what he wants people to think. But trust
She's
me,
basically
the
a disaster.
He's been a disaster. But the Democrats and liberals, I think, we're warming up and are warming up currently to the idea of her running for president in 2020.
So I loved it. I gloat over it. I think it's wonderful because I like to see bad people fail.
And Ivanka was accepting of it. She tweeted some praise for Oprah for that message she delivered. So even Ivanka, the first daughter in the Oval Office for Donald Trump, hey, so she's supportive of it, and now she's being called a hypocrite, by the way, because of all the accusers of sexual harassment against Donald Trump, her father, but still it was a strong message, a vibrant message that everybody really was able to embrace, and I was receptive to it as well and gravitated towards the message, and I want to campaign openly for Oprah Winfrey as president in 2020 at this point.
You're really happy, huh? You're really
I'm very happy. All us liberal snowflakes, as you would refer to us as, to me, and I guess I'm a liberal, so you perceive me as a snowflake, and all those actors and actresses hearing that message when it happened, you saw, like I said, their jaws dropping. They were loving it. Whatever she was spewing, they were just loving and salivating over. And you know what? I think she would have an interesting platform to run on because of our current president, Doc.
So, okay, I guess you could ask, it's been 365 days of his presidency. People are a little bit upset and nervous now because we might be heading toward nuclear war.
Yeah, that too. That's not a good thing, huh?
Right, we're headed toward nuclear war, Vito. But at the same time, has Donald Trump greatly affected your life, Vito? Have you been so
Well, I'm going to say
devastated?
this. What is he helping out with the tax breaks he's giving to the wealthy 1% for the most part? He doesn't care about me, the little person, no pun intended. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't. So he's affecting me in that way through
Wait
the
a
tax
minute.
breaks.
Okay,
the new
hold on.
tax bill and the breaks he's giving are
Hold
not to
on.
people like myself who are
Hold
kind of struggling
on.
economically. That's all I can say.
Since you are a journalist, we have
Yes.
to rewind that. Have you done your taxes yet since the new tax plan has been signed and put into law?
Sure, that's true. I haven't because you're trying to get to that. But let's see. Let's see what happens. I bet right now on the airwaves here, it will not be beneficial what happened.
Okay.
And reading into what I have read, what I know, it's not beneficial. That's all I can say.
Okay, I'm on a health kick.
Yep.
And obviously, I'm a guy that likes to look at facts like you as a journalist and likes to look at what reality is, not all this hyperbole that you see on television. So I'll say this, okay? I trust you, okay? And so I will believe what you tell me. I'm not going to actually look for the facts. But
Yep.
you know how much you got back last year.
Yes,
Okay?
and I didn't get anything back. But I'm a different case as a contractor. That's it. I'm not going to tell you how much this way or that way. I'm just saying. That's it.
Now,
Move on.
this year, I think you might ask your accountant first because I got to double check to make sure that the new taxes and the laws apply to this year's filings. So find that out first for me. And then if your tax bracket improves, if you get more back, then I want you to buy me a $10 gift card to Einstein because I love their coffee. I want you to go to the Einstein, pass the office, and buy me $10, 5 coffees for a week because each small coffee is $2. Buy me $10. Reward me with $10 if you were wrong and actually you benefited from the tax break. I want you to ask your accountant. Ask your accountant, did I benefit from the tax break?
Well, I'll see what I did last year. I have the accounts of it or whatever. I have it archived so I can verify it. And I will verify for you, too, to see who is right.
And technically, we have to say that you're speculating because...
I'm speculating. I am speculating, correct, but I believe it will
I do
become
believe
true.
he cares about you, Vito.
I
Maybe
don't
not
think
as
he
much as he
doesn't.
cares about himself, but he might care
Well,
about
he cares
you.
about himself the most and about repealing everything that Obama did, ruining his legacy. That's what he cares about the most, but that can be a topic for another day. We will see. We will see where I fall when it comes to getting money. Will I get money back? How much? Will I benefit, in relation to the new tax bill that he's put into form? He wanted to pass for a while. Will I benefit? We will see. And yes, I will verify what I have archived and we'll find out. And we'll go from there. And so I owe you a $10 gift card to Einstein's.
If I am
better. Wrong. If it's actually where he is benefiting me, which I don't even say it's Trump benefiting me. It's the government, I guess. But it is technically Trump, right? As
Exactly.
well.
And then,
as much as I don't want to say that. Yes.
And then I'll take care of you in some way if you're right. If you got hurt by his tax plan, you have to pay more, or the accountant maybe puts in writing or sends me the email and says that because of Trump's plan, you paid more or did not benefit as well, then I'll maybe take your subway or buy you dinner or take care of you.
Oh, lovely.
Right?
So accommodating. So if I actually, well, okay, so if you're wrong about this Trump taxation that I'm about to receive and find out about,
I'll take you to New Baltimore. I hear there's some great massage places that really do great massage.
yeah, what have you found out about that, right?
They get close.
Not yourself personally or from reading stuff or both?
From
Finding out some stuff as well from being at these places.
From what I see on Twitter.
Oh, only on
the
Twitter.
podcast.
Social media. That's all it is. That's how you find out everything, right? It's always your source stock.
Exactly. All right, so Vito, you're on board Team Oprah.
Team Oprah, baby. Hashtag Team Oprah. At least right now until, Dwayne The Rock Johnson runs for office. I run for office. I can't yet because of my age. Hey, at this point, why don't I run? Run for mayor of the city of Clinton Township at least one day. Would you lobby for me openly? If I made that happen? For mayor. If I ran for mayor one day. No time soon, probably. I got to get myself righted economically.
Video we
and all
can
that.
do.
It could be where I declare I've joked around about it.
Mayor of what city?
Am I passionate enough? Well, the city that I reside in right now, Clinton Township.
You want to be the mayor? Oh my gosh!
Should I run?
Let's do some preliminary work. See how much. Look at the last election. See what the person got in terms of votes.
I could get close. Give me some write-in votes at least.
Yeah.
I'll aim for that to start up, and then I keep building up my platform, my reputation, and maybe I'll get in 10 years down the line or something.
We can do it now. Why not? Let's start.
Start building for the campaign 10 years ahead of time.
The problem is
I can't run.
I want to be involved. Oh no, you can't.
I got to see what age, because there is an age requirement. I don't know what it is.
No, you heard the story. There was this kid that was 18 years old that ran for mayor, but I think in Clinton Township you can run at 25.
I got to check. Yeah, I got to verify that.
Find out what the votes were. We'll go house to house. Let's do it. If there's limited entry fee, like less than like maybe $100, we could raise some money and maybe get you to be the mayor.
Raise some money for me to put my name into the hat, pretty much, for mayor.
Yeah. Find out when the election is, and I think we've sparked something here. Maybe we can do something with this. Veto for mayor of Clinton Township.
Hashtag veto for mayor. You know what? What kind of dialogue would I spark? Would I have a chance to win? I think I would spark some positive dialogue.
What would be your platform?
Everything the opposite of Trump.
Oh my
I'm thinking, I don't know.
Let's
more positive dialogue.
Let's end this podcast. Let's end this podcast because I got to do this video. I mean, we're going to start the exploration.
Okay.
Of Vito running for mayor of Clinton Township. And
that's funny. But I think it could come to fruition.
Hey, maybe you run for it as just...
You know what? The chances of me running for mayor, I think, are better. Here we go. Than the Tigers making the playoffs. And maybe than me finding a girlfriend via Tinder. Okay, maybe at least. And I know one thing. I won't be touting about my genitalia size as our president has on Twitter. Now, in trying to get us into a third world war, warning North Korea, Kim Jong-un, we can drop nukes on you. We don't need any of that happening. I know for me, I don't have that power as mayor, but I would be the nice guy. Still, like I am now, I would still be the nice guy as mayor. Now, could that win over enough people to get me into office, though, at that very low level of being mayor? We will see. We will find out. And I think we'll entertain the masses by us putting out this message to everybody that, hey, I'm willing to run for mayor, maybe. Now, I probably would be laughed at, too, a lot, and not just because of my size, and I know the jokes would be poked at me because of that. I would understand that. I could deal with it. I think I can take the punches, deal with them, move on, and focus on the mission that I have for the city of Clinton Township while I'm mayor. Let's just say that. To leave it at that.
Vito, I think that you could run just on a simple platform of...
Yeah, what would it be? I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I could be the nice guy, pretty much the opposite of Trump. I'm not going to start Twitter bouts. I mean, but nobody cares as well when I'm the mayor only. Like, they check out my Twitter, but, like, what are they going to tell me?
Man,
right?
I'm fascinated by this. You've taken this way off the rails, but I'm entertained by this. I think this is at least something that can be a great bit and entertainment.
It could be entertaining, right?
Dress up in a suit and start your process of thinking about what you would run on and when it is. First, we got to find out when the election is. The next one
and when
is
I can run,
when you
the
can
age
run.
requirement, all that kind of stuff. But that's the lowest level, right? Like that's the entry into politics, I guess. Yeah. I'm not the most political guy. You know that, right? But I'm not apolitical either.
Right. No.
I mean, what would you say?
I'm
somewhere in the middle.
I
know something. I don't know enough. I need people to help me out, like my brother. He knows a lot. I need some intellects out there that know politics. Help me out.
And find out the
That's
salary.
What I would need.
Find out the salary if it's like 35.
Be more than what I'm.
Maybe
$40K. Might be a little bit more than what I'm making right now, at least. But I'm young, and we gotta weigh the options.
All right, video's coming. I think that we got to talk about this because
we'll really dissect, right? If it's worth it.
All right, let's dissect this in a Periscope. Probably we'll do right now. This is funny stuff, Vito. All right, good stuff. I enjoyed the podcast. to sum it up, I think we'll probably carry our talk over a little bit more in terms of what we think about all these celebrities running for office.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be an interesting challenge in the primaries if The Rock took on Oprah.
I mean, who's going to be next?
Exactly.
Harrison Ford, Susan Sarandon, you and I.
Yeah.
How about
let's
you
do
and
it.
I run on a platform? But we're not on the same team, I guess. So we couldn't, right? We couldn't team up, I guess, technically.
Well, you know what? It might show the country,
Yes,
what?
we'll come together to show, and we'll hold our hands up high and say,
Yeah.
we are together.
Your
We're
sign
going together.
of your party affiliation can be bigger, but mine can be in the corner that, look, my campaign manager is more leaning toward conservative, I'm more liberal, and we can work together to take over the office of mayor of Clinton Township.
There we go. So you're willing to help me out.
I'm willing to print up some signs. The
DSP
You know
is
what?
my main source of revenue for running a campaign.
If this takes off, at least I will have you dress up in a suit and go
it'd be
door to door.
I would look so pretty.
Door to door, I'll hold the clipboard. I'll
Uh-huh.
walk behind you and say, "Look, I'm running for mayor. I'd love your support.
Please give me
I'd
your
love
support.
your I'd love your
Please, anything.
I'd love your support. I feel like I can do great things. I'm a sports broadcaster, journalist. I'm a man of the people. I would love to help you and help the city out in the best way that I can. I'm really dedicated. I'm the man for the job. All right,
Not really quick though. The funny thing is, in your tweet, you said Vito may start exploring running for mayor of Clinton too.
Yeah, Clinton Township, right? Well,
That's how weak my campaign starting like that. I don't even know the name of the city I'm running for. Thanks, campaign manager, or at least lobbyist.
Okay, let's see. I see. It's gonna be funny, man. All right, let's get into this, and we can hash this out for the masses. Thank you, Vito, for this podcast.
Yeah,
I laughed a lot.
Very entertaining. We didn't expect it to go in this direction. Kind of went off the rails, but fun, entertaining dialogue that we experienced here. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Let's run for mayor of the city of Clinton Township. Adios.
It's been